Hi, and welcome to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm Intuity Performance, CEO and co-founder of Intuity Performance. I'm a performance coach, HR professional, whole person leadership facilitator, and your host. The Human Side of Business podcast is fueled by the genuine curiosity to understand how personal characteristics and skills can be leveraged to drive individual and team performance, tangible outcomes, and ultimately organizational success within business. Each podcast is devoted to sharing knowledge, expanding our learning edges, and exploring the trends in corporate culture towards growing the emotional intelligence of organizations. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, and welcome to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm Intuity Performance, CEO and co-founder of Intuity Performance. I'm a performance coach, HR professional, whole person leadership facilitator, and your host. The Human Side of Business podcast is fueled by the genuine curiosity to understand how personal characteristics and skills can be leveraged to drive individual and team performance, tangible outcomes, and ultimately organizational success within business. Each podcast is devoted to sharing knowledge, expanding our learning edges, and exploring the trends in corporate culture towards growing the emotional intelligence of organizations. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Human Side of Business podcast. So excited to be here today with Carolyn Crewe. Carolyn is the owner of Best Kind Consulting. And early on in her entrepreneurial career, I should say she's a serial entrepreneur per se. She has experience. She made some pricing mistakes and quickly realized that there was nowhere to go for pricing help. So basically, she was self-educating. She didn't think about it back then, but that was the catalyst for her pricing education. She knew that pricing was the thing that could control, that she could control to boost revenue. So she took what she already knew from her MBA and lived experiences and read pricing books and did the pricing courses at places like MIT, all to fix her own pricing problems. Now, fast forward nearly 10 years later, as a pricing coach and advisor, again, owning Best Kind Consulting, she has become kind of obsessed with helping female founders price confidently by helping them gain clarity on the value they offer and how to use pricing as a tool to supercharge revenue. So excited to have you here, Carolyn.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Let's dive in. Tell me a little bit more about this. I've always been super intrigued with regards to your story. Help me understand, if I recall correctly, you were in the makeup industry at one point.
Skincare, yeah.
Skincare,
yeah.
And then have morphed into the pricing, advising, and consulting. Walk through that journey.
So essentially, way back in the day, before everyone had a skincare business, we started a small line of natural skincare products that were focused on bath and body. And it was concentrated versions of the products that you already had in your bathroom. So instead of a big bottle of lotion, we had a concentrated lotion bar. Instead of a giant bottle of shampoo, we had a shampoo bar, that kind of thing. And we started out, our plan was to sell online. So we figured out what our costs were. We picked a price that gave us what we thought was a reasonable margin based on that. And kind of off we went. And then obviously you don't know what you don't know. So then that's like a sweeping statement. Then stores started approaching us to see if they could put some of our products on their shelves. And we were like, absolutely. That is a fantastic idea. You should definitely do that. But then they take about a 50% cut. And we were like, okay, that hurts, but no big deal. And that's fine. And we keep selling online. And then we get it in our heads that we're going to start selling on Amazon. Again, Amazon, like any other kind of distributor, there's a cut that they take. There are fees that go along with it. There's marketing budgets. And it was a great opportunity for us, but we were like, oh, okay, if our price is this, and then they take that and this other thing, and there's just fee for here and a fee for there, suddenly you're not making as much money as you thought you were making.
Right.
And then we got approached by a natural products distributor, which we were like, absolutely, let's do this because we had no idea. So essentially, what happens is the price you pick at the beginning of the journey can be the price you're stuck with, no
Mm.
matter how it shakes out. So when you start selling in all of these different sales channels, you are still capped by the price you set because
Mhm.
customers don't love it when you're just like, hey, I'm going to double my price,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
But what you forget about or you don't know is that in order to make any of those other sales channels work, you have to have a really, really big margin in order to accommodate for that. And it's really difficult when you're a baby business who can't get economies of scale out of the gate. So you're stuck.
Mhm.
So you have to figure out how to raise your prices in a way that customers are not going to freak out, but you can still like continue to exist until that point.
Mhm.
And it's a really kind of delicate matter. So we did that. We were selling, at places like Whole Foods, in grocery store chains, and health food stores across North America, e-commerce, Amazon. We had a lot of little fires burning. And after about 8 years, so we had fixed, we knew about 2 years in that our prices were wrong. And that is what kickstarted this whole like, who can help me with pricing? And you can find someone to help you with business strategy, with financial strategy, with marketing strategy, with all kinds of things that are related to growing your business. But there really didn't seem to be anyone who specialized in pricing.
Mhm.
People had thoughts on pricing, people
Mhm.
had experience with pricing,
Mhm.
but there wasn't really someone who was like, this is my jam,
Right.
right? Here's what you need to do step by step. So, I was like, okay, well, if I got to fix this. So that's why I started reading any pricing book I could get my hands on. If there was an online course that I could do, I started doing those to fix my own mistake. So, like I said, over time, we were able to kind of navigate that. But after about 8 years, the complexity, to put it mildly, of running a business like that with a ton of SKUs, there's manufacturing, there's shipping, there's e-commerce. Like someone has to manage all of these channels. You have to be able to fund all of these channels and support them to give them the oxygen they needed.
Mhm.
We were still growing revenue wise, but my sanity was shrinking just as quickly. Um, to put it mildly. So I don't know, something just kind of hit me one day of like, what if I did not do this anymore?
Right.
What would happen? And the answer is like the world will be just fine. And so I basically made the choice with my partner to come up with a plan to exit that business.
Mhm.
We basically had a postdoc and then some in entrepreneurship because in that roller coaster, as I'm sure you've experienced, there are tons of wins and there's a ton of mistakes,
Mhm.
some more expensive than others.
Mhm.
So, yeah, learned a ton. And when we officially exited that business, there was a moment of, because I was like, oh, yay, I don't have that stress anymore, which quickly turned into like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do now. um,
Where do we go from here?
didn't think that part. True. So, but what I ended up doing on the advice of a friend was like to take this time, this like take a hot minute to think about all the things that worked really well
Mm.
and think about all the things that were really shit, if I can say that.
Of course.
And like, what would you do differently? And just kind of take a minute to like think about it when you don't have your back up against the wall, like when you're
Right.
not in it. And one of the things that I made a list, and one of the things that I kind of kept coming back to was the idea if we had priced better at the beginning, there was this trickle down effect
Right.
that this probably wouldn't have happened, and this would have been far better, like would not have been as serious because pricing affects everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? It
It
affects your
really does.
positioning, affects your absolutely your bottom line, it affects your messaging, it affects so many things. But in all of the kind of business education out there, it sort of just gets glossed over.
Very
And
much so.
nobody really shows entrepreneurs how to do it. So what happened in terms of like how I figured out what I was going to do next is we had gotten funding from any organization that was giving out funding. I was like, let's be friends. And one of the ladies at one of these organizations, these business hubs, was like, hey, if you're not busy, I have a client, a founder who is struggling with this. Do you think you could help out? Like, I know you've navigated this before. And I was like, yeah, sure, that'd be fun. So she would send me these like little projects.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a great time because I had actual lived experience to share. The founders I was working with seemed to get a lot of value out of it. And it put a little bit of money in my bank account.
Right.
So it checked like all of the boxes. So she kind of kept doing that. And then other people from other hubs, would send me referrals here and there. And I was just having a good time. And this lady, honestly, I was just like, this is just, it's easy. It's easy.
Keep
There's
it
no
coming.
stress.
Referrals are great.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is
Yes.
easy. And she was like, so have you given any thought to what you're going to do next? And I was like, I mean, a little, but not really. I'm just kind of like enjoying this. And she was like, "Oh, sweetie, like you're a coach, you're a consultant now." And I was like, "No, I don't think so." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, you definitely are. You absolutely 100% are." And I was like, "Oh man, okay. Crazy. Okay." And then when I thought about it, I was like, "Okay, I'm having a good time. It's really rewarding. I love the people I'm getting to work with.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun puzzle every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And I get paid to do that. So I was like, okay, maybe there's a there. But then when I kind of like came to that realization, I was like, okay, I have to actually sit down and figure out how this is going to work like I would with any business. So originally my plan, because I like this whole puzzle solving kind of dynamic, like business strategy is very interesting to me. Like go to market strategy, very interesting for me. But I always kind of came back to pricing, but I didn't have a ton of confidence that I could do
Mm.
it because it's like, yes, I've navigated all of this. Yes, I've read a bajillion books on it at this point. Yes, I've done a bunch of courses, but like I haven't really like done this as a thing, and I'm more comfortable with business strategy and I'm more comfortable with go-to-market strategy. And I had a conversation with Caitlin Burgoyne
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, she was like, if you were a restaurant and friends, you had to describe this restaurant to your friends. You would say it's the one that does this, and there's like a signature kind of thing that they do. And if they do anything above and beyond that, it's too confusing and people will not remember what it is you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So just the idea of like, if a restaurant is known for this kind of dish, like if I had to be known for one kind of thing, and even though it was absolutely terrifying, I was like, I think it's got to be pricing.
Mm-hmm.
That I there it doesn't exist. I know everybody guesses.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody guesses, even the people that you think are super experienced and confident and they've got it all figured out.
You're guessing.
Huge money, they're guessed.
Yes.
Maybe they guessed right or
Mm.
they guessed close enough.
Mm-hmm.
But chances are they've guessed. People tell me that they've guessed all the time. So super uncomfortable, but I am a sucker for putting myself in uncomfortable positions, apparently.
What is that? Tell me more
I
about that,
don't
please.
know. I don't know. I feel like the scarier the prospect is, the more I'm drawn to it.
Rising to the challenge is what I'm
I
hearing.
guess
Yeah.
it's sink or swim, but I feel like if I'm in that position of like I'm not super confident in it, I'm going to work my ass off that much harder
Right.
to make sure I don't screw it up. So, and then, yeah, then people started, once I kind of like put my flag in the sand, of like, this is the thing that I'm doing now. They just started sending me pricing referrals, projects. And then I just started connecting with startup accelerator programs and incubators. And it's been it'll be 2 years in November, which sounds absolutely insane when I say that out loud, but I have zero regrets. I am super grateful that I get to do this, even though it's crazy dorky. And when I get excited about pricing and start talking about it, I can see people's eyes glaze over. And I don't care because I love it. And yeah, life is good.
That's amazing, Carolyn. And
It's
I,
still hard. I still have to figure out a lot of stuff because
of
I sold
course,
physical products before, and now I have to sell what's in my brain. But I am very much up for the challenge.
of course you are. No doubt in my mind. Seeing that there's a couple threads to pull here, as you were speaking, correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong in thinking that as female founders,
Mm,
we often have similar traits in the sense of what we're struggling with. Here's what really resonated with me when you
mhm,
were speaking. One, even though I have a crap ton of information in my mind about this particular topic because I haven't
mm,
proven to myself or have the right experience, I
mhm,
don't know if I'm good enough to do this yet.
mhm,
Two that came out for me was, you know, I have to take on everything by myself to the point of burnout so
mhm,
that I can ensure that I am, not so much, I don't want to say that you're quote unquote winning, but rather in your mind, it's coming from a place of I'm successful. This is what success looks like
mhm,
versus, expediting problems and delegating.
mhm.
The third thing that came up for me was thinking about this again from a female centric perspective is what else can I do to lean into my community to
Mhm.
ensure that there is the connectivity from a perspective of referrals? And what I
Yep.
really enjoyed about your story, Carolyn, is that you're like, I was just having fun. And like to
I
me, I
was.
was like, that is professional networking at best. Like help me out, help a sister out, give me some tips on this crap. But sidebar, I guess no, not sidebar, coming full circle, I feel like those are the top three trends that a lot of female founders are grappling with in the sense
Mhm,
of being able to ensure that we have the confidence, that we have
mhm,
the right community around us, that we
mhm.
have also, of course, the right pricing so that we're not making baseline mistakes and making sure that we're not wearing so many hats that we're burning ourselves out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, I can speak to all of those things. So what I see with my clients, a conversation I had yesterday, the founder was just starting out with this new platform and knows there's a competitor, and the competitor is charging X.
Yes.
And she was like, "Oh, I couldn't possibly charge X." And I was like, "Okay, cool, cool." So I was like, if you had to, compare what you offer to what they offer, would you say it's just as good? Would you say it's better in some respects? Or would you say like there's a huge difference between what you offer in terms of quality and what they offer in terms of quality? And
Mm.
she's like, "Oh, ours is better for this reason, that reason, and this reason." And I was like, "Hmm. So you're saying yours is better, but you don't feel like you can
It
charge,
resonates.
right?"
It
And
does.
I hear this constantly,
I can see
from
it.
men too, but especially women. And it's crazy because they're like earth-shatteringly brilliant, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And they say like, "Oh, I couldn't possibly charge this." And this isn't an insane number. This is like we can prove that the perceived value is this,
Right.
which is what your price is based on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? We're not pulling a number that's astronomical out of thin air just because you love money or whatever it is, right? We're trying to price your product or your service in a way that's fair to the customer, but also fair to you as a business owner for taking on all this risk, for
Right.
doing all this work. right? So that you can continue to offer these delightful products and delightful services. But there's very little confidence because if you want, like Prada had to train people to think that they were a luxury brand,
Mm-hmm.
right? They had to tell people in every way, shape, or form, no matter how they encountered the brand Prada, that they were luxury.
Yes.
And in my mind, this platform, this lady that I was talking to yesterday, her platform is no different. If she is offering a premium service,
Mm-hmm.
she's not going to like be the cheap version that's like, we're fine. And then all of a sudden, one day, flip a switch to reposition themselves as a premium, like gold standard product.
Right.
It's like you need to have the confidence to know that out of the gate and make sure all of the stars around it align to reinforce that for customers so that they understand why they're paying more. It's because the quality of the product or service you're delivering
Mm-hmm.
is worth it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you,
So, yeah.
oh, keep going.
No, I was
Sorry.
just going to say like the confidence, like I can give you a ton of different examples, but that's one that just happened yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. And I can only imagine, especially in your space, you see that on the daily
Hmm.
with entrepreneurs. And what I'm hearing is it's really about identifying what is the end goal of your business. What is it that you're really looking to do from an impact perspective?
Hmm.
Pricing therefore needs to align with the same, meaning that, if you're looking at it, a four-box quadrant,
Yes.
for all the entrepreneurs out there, we've all seen this, are you high quality, low price? Are you low price, low quality? Where do you fit on that quadrant? And
Hmm.
therefore, that should be where your pricing should wrap around it in conjunction with a whole bunch of other things, I would say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. It's a 360 kind of thing, and that any way your customer interacts with your brand should reinforce that positioning,
Right. And
right?
so help me understand for the service businesses out there.
Yeah.
So like let me back it up. With a product, typically speaking,
Hmm.
my understanding would be that you would do some market research, see what's out there. You'd
Hmm.
have some questionnaires for your particular founders or co-owners, what have you. How much that product costs, so that's a minimum, and then you're building on the pricing with a host of other resources or trusted and tried factors in play. Now, when it comes to services,
Hmm.
how do you work with founders to ensure that they're not making the same mistakes in trading time for money,
Hmm.
essentially? Right? Because you know what it's like. A lot of female entrepreneurs will go at the hourly rate. And I'm making a broad generalization.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, but
Um,
you're not wrong.
but I
That's
think
very,
it's
yeah.
true. A lot of
Yep.
female founders would be like, okay, well, I'll charge this an hour
Hmm.
versus looking at the service that they're offering from a packaging perspective. Help me understand that piece a little bit more and the value behind really putting time and effort into thinking about the packaging that you're offering.
Oh my God, we could spend hours on this. So I would argue, first and foremost, that your customers do not care about what it costs you.
Hmm.
Doesn't cross their mind how much it costs you
That's
to either
true.
make your product or deliver your service. They don't care. They care about me. What's in it for me, right?
Yes.
That's what every time you buy a thing, it's like you're trying to figure out how this is going to make my life better.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, an example that comes to mind specifically on the services front is if you were going to have surgery, you want the best possible outcome.
Yes.
Do you care how long it takes the surgeon to do it?
No.
No, right? You just want the desired outcome.
Right.
So the more times that that surgeon does that particular surgery, they're going to get more experience. They're going to get faster,
Hmm.
right? At delivering that exact same outcome.
Right.
Do you expect to pay any less because the surgeon is now more experienced and faster,
No.
right? It has nothing to do with the time that's spent performing the service,
Mm. Hmm.
right? So customers, especially in the service world, are paying for you to make some sort of magic happen for them. So the low-hanging fruit is typically you are saving them time,
Hmm.
you are saving them money, You are opening up new, I don't know, new revenue streams, right?
Right.
And your experience in doing this particular type of service delivery, you have so much experience. If the person, so if I wanted to figure out how to improve my leadership skills, I could read books, I could do classes, I could do all kinds of things to get the same outcome that you can deliver. But it's going to take me like years, right? And I'm going to do all kinds of dumb stuff along the way that make no sense, right?
As we all would.
So absolutely, as we all would. It doesn't matter what the service is, right? But you are selling the outcome.
Right.
I can get you where you want to go faster, better, right? And as a result of that, because I'm so experienced, charging by the hour, right? If you're more experienced, you can do things faster. And so if I create websites and I create an e-commerce template for a baby brand,
Right.
okay? As a result of that e-commerce template being amazing, maybe they go from $10,000 in sales to $20,000 in sales. Great, wonderful. If Coca-Cola says, hey, can you build me an e-commerce site? And I give them a very similar product, the outcome for them could be millions of dollars.
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
Right? So the outcome for the client, to me, is the deciding factor, or one of the key deciding factors, as to how you're going to be charging them. Because the outcome is going to be different. It's going to be worth something different depending on what the client, who the client is, how big the client is.
Right. The words that are popping up in my head is economy of scales.
Ish. So in every pricing project, every time I work with someone on their pricing, the first thing we always start with is what is the customer's job to be done?
Okay.
So it's a framework. There's thousands of pages on the internet if you just search jobs to be done. But it's essentially, if we put all of your customers in a room, you would go, wow, there's pretty much no commonality between age, job, like maybe they have the same job in the case of like leadership coaching, right? It's a particular vertical or whatever. But like gender doesn't really matter, ethnicity doesn't really matter, where they live, what car they drive, like all of those like demographic things aren't that helpful. But all of those customers are in the room because there's a common thread. And that common thread is that they are struggling with a particular thing. You can absolutely help them either navigate it better or make it a problem of the past.
Right.
That is the common thread that brings them together. So if you understand why those people are buying the thing that you have to offer, right? They all want the same desired outcome that you can deliver. Then you have clarity on your entire business first and foremost. But what that does, it allows you from a pricing perspective to design service packages that help them achieve that job to be done. So an example I use in one of my workshops is a social media agency. So if a small business owner who's selling skincare products wants to grow their business online, right? But it takes forever to create posts, schedule posts. If I know that that is the thing that they go, ugh, every time they have to promote their business online, there's this angst, this anxiety because they hate it, right? If I know that, I can ensure that what I offer addresses that with laser focus. So the first thing that they're going to want to outsource, maybe the least risky part of it, is they just want someone to take the scheduling off their plate, right? I don't need to trust you that much to let you schedule posts. So you could create a package that specifically says, this is a tier, this is a package for business owners who don't want to schedule their own posts anymore.
Right.
And as a result of that, you could argue that you're saving them a couple hours a month, right? So you can assign perceivable value, provable value to that. If someone is already scheduling my post for me and I go, oh, they're pretty good at this, The next step is they're probably going to want someone to start creating content for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now you have the opportunity to create a tier of services for them where you create content and then schedule it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Easy for me, the business owner, to understand this is the perfect tier for me, right? You, the service provider, are only giving me exactly what I need to get that job done,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And then there are going to be customers who have deeper pockets who are like, can you just do everything? Like the account management, the scheduling, the content, can you just like do it all? Can you
Right.
be my social media, my outsourced social media team,
Right. Right.
right? But you have clear service offerings that are all helping that particular customer get a specific job done.
Mm-hmm.
There's a logical progression between each of those tiers. They have somewhere to go if they want more, if they want less, but
Mm-hmm.
it's all based on the job that the customer is trying to get done. And
Right.
with each of those things you include in the tiers, you can absolutely calculate the perceived value in terms of time savings. You could do this yourself. It's going to take you a
Mm-hmm.
lot longer,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could do this yourself, but it's not going to be as high quality as if a professional does it for you.
Right.
So you can assign provable, believable, based in reality value of like, this package is worth this.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to pricing it, you are actually you have the ability then to price it based on the value that the customer is getting.
Right.
So
Right.
you are more confident in pitching your tier, your package. You are more confident about your pricing. You are less likely to just give discounts,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you have different options you can present. It's not one size fits all anymore.
Right.
And once you have a client on board, you're giving them options of other places they could go to grow within their business or grow within your business as
Mm-hmm.
their business changes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of potential there. And the reason to have different service packages is it allows you to capture more revenue
Right.
because
Right.
you have tiers that are aligned with clients' willingness to pay
Mm-hmm.
and their willingness to trust you to outsource work to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in doing so, it's not a like it or lump it sort of situation anymore. It's like, hey, you don't have a ton of money and you just want me to schedule your posts. Cool.
Right. Right.
Now I win that client. Even though they don't have a ton of money, I have something to offer them.
Yes, definitely. And we know that when it comes to reoccurring business, it's much
Yeah,
easier than seeking out new business, I think is what I'm reading between the lines.
totally.
Right. So a package that meets your client where they're at currently can
Yes,
grow substantively depending on where they want to go and the client relationship, et cetera, et cetera.
sure. And it also makes you, the business owner, more streamlined, efficient, and profitable
Yes.
because you are not reinventing the wheel with every client.
Right.
These
Right.
are set packages.
Yes. So
So
I can,
you know how long it takes to offer, you have all the materials, right? You don't have to come up with a random custom quote every time. Yeah,
it becomes systematic in that you can have basically what I would call it more of your back end built out. So your
absolutely.
products or your services, your pricing, the way that you're strategizing your packages, so that you can really spend time with your client to understand what they need and where you can meet them. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's essentially comes down to more of a problem solving conversation than, especially for female founders, working through the mindset of how do I sell
Hmm.
myself? How do I sell my
Hmm.
product? How do I sell my services? They're there
Hmm.
with you that are allowing to help build that experiential confidence through those navigating conversations, or I guess fact finding conversations with potential clients.
Absolutely. If you understand that your offering has value to clients, if you know what that value is,
Hmm.
the confidence level goes through the roof,
Right.
right? You are no longer like, it actually, it's like, this is what it's worth. Here's what the price for you would be. Just let me know what you want to do next.
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
This is
No
fantastic.
panicking and discounting and like, no, like, you know what it's worth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love everything that you're saying, Carolyn, and I know that I could talk to you for hours on end about pricing and selfishly to navigate this world myself, of course.
I would be happy to help you.
I know, I know. As we wrap this up, help us understand what would you say are the top 5 things to really focus on when you're,
5. Mhm.
yes, when you're really trying to focus on the pricing component? Because what I've heard throughout the past almost 45 minutes with you, Carolyn, is that
Mhm.
pricing isn't just pricing. It has an impact and a trickle effect on almost every component of your business.
Yes.
So what would be the top 5 things that we should look at?
I think understanding the job your customer is trying to get done, again, not just for pricing, just for like full on clarity of what's going on in your business. If you
Yeah.
understand what the struggle is, you know exactly what you need to say
Yes.
in your messaging. Like, it, honestly, like the trickle down effect of understanding that particular gem,
It's a huge
game
light bulb.
changing,
Mm-hmm.
game changer. So understanding the job to be done is, I think, absolutely critical. Using it to give your customers options
Mm-hmm.
is going to allow you to capture more revenue.
Mm-hmm.
It also is going to give you the ability to, like I said, streamline your inner workings of your business because you're not doing custom this and custom that all over the place.
Right.
You're going to become a well-oiled machine. I think it really helps to know your positioning,
Mm-hmm.
right? April Dunford, if you look her up, that's her thing, positioning. If you understand how you fit into the marketplace and you understand your job to be done, all of a sudden what you say and justifying that premium price tag that I'm sure everybody is hoping for becomes significantly easier.
Right.
I think finding your tribe, your people on the business end, so forget about customers for a second, building a network of other business owners, and there are like organizations out there that exist to enable and facilitate that, is worth like more than gold, because your friends don't get it, your mom doesn't get it.
Mm-mm.
You need to find people who understand this weird roller coaster that we have all, like, we're masochists, that we've all signed up for, who understand us, right? Who
Yes.
get it. So when you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can meet payroll this month, it's like zero judgment. We've all been there, right? You need that support. And also they're going to be able to connect you with people that can help you in an infinite number of ways, not just new customers, but
Right.
like so I really cannot stress the importance of having a strong network. I've lost count of how many things I have said. I feel like I'm like
Incredible.
4,
Yeah.
5. I think understanding, and I'm happy to walk anybody through this exercise because it is, none of the things I am talking about are rocket science, just no one shows you how to do it.
Right.
I am not any smarter than anybody else. I just happen to know the frameworks and tools and steps to kind of be able to think about this and approach it.
Right.
But understanding the value of what it is you're offering. Because if you understand the value, you're no longer going to feel the pressure to give in to someone who's asking for a discount,
Mm-hmm.
to offer them some like crazy product service offering at a price you would never consider before. Because if you understand the value of what you are bringing to the table, you are going to be 1,000% confident in your prices.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be 1,000% confident in those sales conversations because you know that if I do this for you and this for you and this for you, I am saving you 12 hours of time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would pay yourself $100 an hour, I just saved you $1,200 a month,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not only that, I'm going to do it better than you can do,
Mm-hmm. Yes,
right?
please.
So if you understand the value of what you're bringing to the table, I think that's also going to be a game changer in terms of your ability to sell, to resist the urge to discount things left, right, and center, and just in terms of your confidence in getting the prices that your product is worth, and your just confidence as a human who is trying to navigate the business landscape.
Absolutely. Carolyn, how can we get in touch with you to learn more about the amazing resources, tools, and advice that you have to offer within the pricing landscape?
You can find me on my website. So it's bestkindconsulting.ca. I am available on LinkedIn. So it's Carolyn Crewe, Crewe. I do have an Instagram account, but I have neglected it. So there's nothing there. But I would say, yeah, website and LinkedIn are your best options.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule for us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was just super fun.
Thanks for listening to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm glad you could join us. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated with our latest content, make sure to visit our website. The link can be found in the episode description, where you can subscribe to the podcast, sign up for our newsletter, and learn more about our whole person leadership services. Sounds interesting? Explore the Whole Person Leadership Cohort by Intuity Performance, a unique program that offers unparalleled support to managers on every step of their leadership journey. Our program features evidence-based assessments, workbooks, group coaching, and interactive learning experiences to help you level up your leadership skills. Reach out today to apply to one of our upcoming cohorts. Until next time, take care and stay curious. Thanks for listening to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm glad you could join us. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated with our latest content, make sure to visit our website. The link can be found in the episode description, where you can subscribe to the podcast, sign up for our newsletter, and learn more about our whole person leadership services. Sounds interesting? Explore the Whole Person Leadership Cohort by Intuity Performance, a unique program that offers unparalleled support to managers on every step of their leadership journey. Our program features evidence-based assessments, workbooks, group coaching, and interactive learning experiences to help you level up your leadership skills. Reach out today to apply to one of our upcoming cohorts. Until next time, take care and stay curious.